a particular location of the highway. There are 4 types of specialized counting studies: origin, destination, streamline, and cordon counts. We start with the discussion about origin destination counts. And to do origin destination count, these are the 3 methods. Okay. License plate, postcard, interview studies. Now, irrespective of which method you would use, in the end you get a sample of the values. You are getting the sample of the values. You are not getting the actual number of people going from one area to the other. Okay. For example, if you are using license plate studies, then we have earlier discussed in travel time studies that when you are taking license plate number, cars are moving and you are missing many cars. Okay. For many cars, you are not able to write their license plate numbers. Postcard studies, you distribute the postcard to the drivers and then you are dependent upon them to return it to you. Many of them will not return your postcard. So for all those drivers, you will not have the counts. Interview studies, again, you cannot interview the whole population of the area. You will only do a sample for the interview studies. So the point here is, in the end, you get a sample of the actual values. Now, how to expand this sample into the complete population? Okay, how to expand this sample to give me the actual number of values, actual number of trips. So for that, we have to do some calibration. To do the calibration, I have to perform some field studies. So I will go to the boundary of each area and I will take the volume for number of vehicles coming in to the area and number of vehicles going out of the area. If they are coming into the area, that means that area is their destination. If they are going out of the area, that means that area was their origin, right? So you go to the field and find out total number of vehicles entering the area and leaving the area. So you have the total number of vehicles for which this area should be the origin, and you have the total number of vehicles for which the area should be the destination. Then you prepare this matrix which you see on the slide here. Okay, now what is this matrix? So this matrix is for 4 zones. So the area is divided into 4 zones, and in each row the zone is listed as a destination, and in each column the zone is listed as an origin. So for example, if you take this number 50 trips, origin 1, destination also 1. So these trips do not leave their area. 8 trips, origin 2, destination 1. So they came out of area 2 and went to zone 1. Okay. Then 20 trips, origin zone 3, destination zone 1, and so on. Okay. Then at the end of each row and at the end of each column, you see the summation of the values. Okay. Column sum, row sum. So row summation means what? 95 people have destination 1. 95 people total went into area 1 according to our sample. This is according to our sample. Okay, this is from the sample. Then you see with each row and column, you see the volume from the field as well. See the last column, this is the volume. So 250 is the volume observed in the field entering area 1. So entering area 1 means their destination is area 1, right? So 250 vehicles had destination area 1. Okay. Similarly, 310 vehicles had destination area 2. And then you see with each column as well the summation, the volume. So 210 vehicles had origin zone 1. So origin zone 1 means what? They came out of zone 1, right? 200 vehicles came out of zone 2 and so on. Okay. Now, if your sample was correct, if your sample was showing the actual values, then these two numbers should match, right? The summation of columns should match with the volume of the field, right? They should match. But obviously, like I said, you just have a sample and the values from the field are much higher than the sample you have collected. So I have to make these values closer to each other. Which values? The summations which you are getting from the matrix and the volume which you are getting from the field. I have to make them closer to each other. Okay. For that, I will do some calibration, some adjustments. First of all, for each row and column, I will calculate a factor. And that factor will be the ratio of volume upon the summation. So for example, if you want the factor for the first row, it will be 250 upon 95. 250 volume upon 95, which is summation of the row. If you want the factor for the first column, it will be 210 upon 88. Okay, so 210 is the volume, 88 is the summation of the column. So like this, you will calculate the factors for each row and column. Now, if, like I said, the numbers for the origin, sorry, the numbers for the summation and the volume, if they were equal, so somehow you got the actual number of trips between the two areas, between each two zones, and these two numbers are equal, then the ratio will be how much? If the volume and the summation is equal, the ratio will be how much? If two numbers are equal, the ratio is what?
1.
1. Yeah, thank you. So their ratio is 1. Their ratio should be 1. The ratio should be 1. Okay. But if you see here, they have calculated the ratios for each row and column, and it is not even close to 1, right? Not even close to 1. So 250 upon 95 gives you 2.63. Similarly, 210 upon 88 gives you 2.39, and so on. So somehow we have to make these ratios closer to 1. Okay. Now the values from the field cannot be changed, so volumes will not be changed. Vj and Vi, column Vj and row Vi will not be changed. Okay. You have to change the numbers in the matrix so that the summations are updated. Okay. You have to update the numbers in the matrix so that the summations are updated. Then you will calculate the ratios again. Okay. These factors again. How to change the numbers in the matrix? Each number in the matrix will be multiplied with the average of the ratio of its row and column. Each number in the matrix will be multiplied with the average of the ratio of its row and column. So for example, 50 will be multiplied with the average of 2.63 and 2.39. Okay. Similarly, if you want to multiply 8, then it should be multiplied by what? Tell me. 8 should be multiplied by what? This number 8. It should be multiplied by what? Yes. Anyone?
2.02
and
2.63.
Yes. Okay. The average of 2.02 and 2.63. Okay. Remember, we are taking the average. Okay. So each number should be taken and multiplied with the average of the ratios for its row and column. Let me show it here. So for example, like I said, 50. So 50 will be multiplied with the average of 2.39 and 2.63. 2.39 is for the first column and 2.63 is for the first row. So 50 is in the first row and column, so multiply by that. And when you multiply, you get 125. So 50 will be replaced with 125. Okay. So you will do it for each number in the matrix. For each number in the matrix. So the whole matrix will be changed, and then you will get new summation, right? You will get a new summation for each row and column. And then you will recalculate the ratios. With the new summations, you will recalculate the ratios. I will say it again. The volumes will not change, only the summations are changing. So Vj and Vi is the same what you have in the field, so it will not remain, it will remain the same. Okay, so the summations are changing, so you will recalculate the ratios. Okay. So again, you do 250 upon 267, 310 upon 292, and you get these values. Okay, and similarly 210 upon 232, 200 upon 251, and you get these values. Like we said earlier, we want to make these ratios equal to 1, right? This is our aim. But practically, it is not possible to make all the factors equal to 1 in a reasonable time. It will take you a very long time, many iterations to get all the ratios equal to 1. Okay, so for that we are not aiming to get it 1, we are trying to make it between 0.9 and 1.1. If all the ratios are between 0.9 and 1.1, we will stop our calibration there. Okay, no further adjustment is required if all the factors are between 0.9 and 1.1. Okay, because as I said, making them exactly equal to 1 is not possible. When you change one value, it changes the summation of the row, summation of the column, and it will change 2 factors at a time, and so on. Okay, so we are aiming for a range of 0.9 and 1.1. So let us look at the ratios which we have calculated just now. Are these ratios within the range? First one, yes. Second row, yes. Third row, no. So third row is out of the range. Fourth row, yes, in the range. First column, yes. Second column, out of the range. Third column, in the range. Fourth column, out of the range again. So we have one row and 2 columns which are out of the range. Now the rule is you cannot adjust any column or row separately. You have to adjust the complete matrix again. Even if one ratio is out of the range, the whole matrix must be recalibrated. Okay, that's the rule here. Okay, so I cannot take the third row and just calibrate the third row. No, you have to calibrate the whole matrix. Now don't worry, each time you calibrate, the number of rows and columns out of the range will reduce. Okay, so don't worry, I am doing it for one number and the next iteration now 3 numbers are out of the range. It will not happen. It will not happen. With each iteration, the number of factors, the number of ratios out of the range will keep on becoming less and less. Okay, so now if it is 1 row and 2 columns, maybe next time it will only be 1 column. Okay, so now you will take this expanded matrix which you have generated. Now you will change these values. Okay, so the previous matrix, the initial one, is gone. Okay, it's not there. So you will use these values now from this matrix and you will use these ratios. So 125 will be multiplied by the average of 0.94 and 0.9. 19 will be multiplied by the average of 0.94 and 0.8, and so on. So this is a new matrix now. This is a new matrix. Do the summations again and take the ratios. So when you take the ratio, you can see the new ratios over here. Same thing for each column as well. Do the summation, take the ratio, and you can see the values. Now, are the ratios within the range? Okay, for all the rows, they are within the range, no problem. For all the columns, are they in the range? No. Second column is still out of the range. Second column is still out of the range. So earlier it was 1 row and 2 columns. Now it is only 1 column. Okay. So again, like I said, previous matrix is gone. This is your new matrix. Perform the calculations on this matrix. Take the ratios from here. Take the average of the ratios. Multiply by the number of this numbers in this matrix. Okay. So this is your final matrix. Why I'm saying it is final? Take the summation of each row and column. You get these values. Okay. Then divide the values with the divide the volume with the summations and you get the new factors. Now you can see the factors over here. Now all the factors are in the range. All the factors are in the range. Okay. Between 0.9 and 1.1. Okay. And if you compare the factors with the previous iteration, okay, for example, this one was 0.97, now it is 0.98. It was 1.08, now it is 1.06. 0.92, 0.95. So all factors are becoming closer to 1. Even the factors which were already in the range, they are becoming closer to 1. So with each iteration, you are getting closer to 1. But like I said, if you want to get exactly 1 for all the rows and columns, it will take you a lot of time. Okay. So I am not doing the calculations here. There is a problem given in the textbook. Okay, you can solve this problem, and if you have any problem, you can let me know. because you see there's to do the calculation of the entire matrix, it will like take one whole class for just one iteration, right? So we cannot do it. Cordon count, the next specialized counting study is the cordon count. So a cordon means boundary. Word cordon means boundary. So when police are doing some investigation, when there's an accident on the road, they cordon off the point, the cordon off that particular location. Cordon off means they make a boundary around that location. So in a cordon count, you take your area, and that area is normally a CBD, Central Business District, area which is commercial, which has a lot of traffic, it has many activity centers. So usually cordon counts are done for these areas. So in a cordon count study, you are only interested in the traffic coming in and going out of one particular area. From where they are coming and where they are going, we are not concerned about them. We are just concerned about how many people are coming into my cordon and how many people are going out of my cordon. And that's it, cordon. Okay, so you take the map of the area and you mark a boundary around that area, and that becomes your cordon, and then you count how many vehicles are crossing the cordon from different points, okay, entering or leaving. When you are marking the cordon, you have to keep some points in mind. These are the points. The first point is make sure your boundary is large enough to cover the full area of interest. The boundary is large enough to cover the full area of interest. For example, I will give you two examples. One for the educational area. The educational area, we have a training institute, we have schools, and we have university campus and so on, right? So if you are making a cordon, make sure that you cover all these facilities within the boundary. Your boundary is covering all these facilities. None of these facilities out of the boundary. Why? Because they are part of the traffic generated for the area. So if you leave anything, any of these schools or institutes out, then you are ignoring that traffic. Okay, or the traffic obviously is part of the area, but you are ignoring that facility, the source of the traffic. Okay, another example for SAR area. In SAR area, if you enter from the Sheikh Isa bin Salman highway, I think, so there are like 4 or 5 malls together, Mercado and Haram, and there are at least 2 more. One is Kingdom. I don't know if it is open or not, but there's another one as well. Okay, I don't remember the name of for all of them, but there are like 4 or 5 malls there. So if you are making a boundary which is leaving, let's say, Kingdom Mall out of the boundary, that means you are not taking care of the traffic coming from that mall. Okay, so in that case, whatever number of vehicles you are getting in your count, this is you do not know the source for them. Okay, and so our aim to do the cordon count is to know how many vehicles are in the area and for which purpose. So then you can do the planning according to that data. Okay, so if you are not including the source of traffic in your boundary, then your data is not accurate, right? Okay, so make sure your boundary is large enough to cover every facility that is generating traffic in your area. It is a facility of interest then, right? Make sure the cordon is crossing the highways and streets at the mid-block locations. Okay, why? For example, this is an intersection, and you mark the boundary so that the boundary is crossing at the intersection. Now you can have confusion about which people are actually crossing the boundary. Someone will come to the intersection and he will take a right turn. Okay, so maybe he is taking a right turn coming back into the area, you don't know. Okay, or maybe he is taking the left turn. Okay, same thing can happen from this side as well. Somebody comes from here, takes a right turn. After taking the right turn, whether he will come into the area or go out of the area, we don't know. Okay, and we already discussed that intersection counts are more difficult. You need to do it manually, you need more observers and so on and so forth. Okay, so to avoid all these things, if you make the boundary at this point, if you mark your boundary at this point, which is the mid-block location between the two intersections, then people can either go in this direction or in this direction. So they are crossing the boundary, right? In any case, they are crossing the boundary. Okay, so your count will be accurate and more convenient, and you can do it with sensors and detectors as well. Okay. If you have make the boundary so that the number of crossing points are minimized. How? If you have a natural or manufactured barrier around the area, make your boundary along that barrier. For example, this is your area. On this particular side, I have a river. This particular side, I have a river. So make sure your boundary is going along the river. Why? To cross the river, there will be very few points. To cross the river, you have to provide a bridge or something, right? So you cannot provide the bridge like you provide streets. Okay. So since the number of crossing points on this side will be less, that means the number of points at which you have to take the observation will also be less. Okay, so number of crossing points reduced, that means number of observation points also reduced. Your work will become simple. Okay, so wherever they are, so it can be a river, it can be a railway track, it can be a bridge. Okay, any facility from which people cannot cross from all the points. So make that facility part of your boundary so that the number of crossing points are minimized. Then make sure that your cordon is covering the area which has a uniform land use. Again, go back to the two examples which I gave you, one for the education area. Now, if you extend the boundary beyond the education area and you cover, let's say, Isa town as well. Isa town is a commercial area, for example. Okay. So now the traffic which is entering your area, you do not know whether they are coming for schools or they are coming for shopping malls or shops. Then how would you do the planning? Okay, so it is important for the planning that the area within the cordon is a uniform land use area. So for example, if I estimate the number of parking spaces I should provide, I know these parking spaces are for schools or these parking spaces are for shops. Similarly, the SAR example, behind the malls, behind the area behind the malls is a residential area. Okay, so if you include that residential area in your boundary as well, then you do not know whether the parking should be provided in the malls or the parking should be provided in the residential area. Okay, and so on and so forth. I'm just giving the example of parking, but there are other things you have to look for. Okay, I'm just trying to make things easier for you. Okay, so make sure the area is uniform inside the boundary. This is the example or a sample of a cordon count. So cordon count starts before the traffic generating activities start in the area. So you can see they are starting at 4 a.m. right? So right after suhoor, just drink the last glass of water and then you run out to count the number of people, right? Now since the count is starting where the activities in that area has not started, so you can see normally the first two values will be empty. Vehicles entering the area, vehicles leaving the area. In the first hour, normally they would be empty because the activities have not started. And then you take account within the area, and that is 250. Now, who are these 250? What are these 250 vehicles? These vehicles may be parked on the side of the road, or they may be moving on some streets. Okay. Keep in mind, we are only interested in vehicles which are on or beside the road. So if somebody has parked the car inside his house, you don't go there and knock his door because you want to count the number of vehicles in the garage. No, he will kick you out, and rightly so. Okay, you deserve that. Okay, don't knock the people's houses at 5 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so these 250 vehicles are maybe parked already on the streets of the area. Okay, or they are maybe moving from one street to another within the area. Okay, so 250 vehicles are already in the area at 5 a.m. Then you take the count from 5 to 6 a.m. 100 vehicles entered, 20 left. So 250 were already in the area, 250 plus 100 which entered, 350 minus 20 which left. So at 6 a.m. number of vehicles in the area are 330. 250 from before, 100 entered, 20 left. So the final answer is 330. This number 330 is known as accumulation. Accumulation means the presence of vehicles in the area, right? How many vehicles are in the area? So 330 vehicles are in the area at 6 a.m. Similarly, from 6 to 7, 150 entered, 40 left. So 330 plus 150 minus 40 at 7 a.m. 440 vehicles are in the area. Okay, and you keep on doing that until you finish your count. The accumulation count should finish when the activities in that area are about to finish. And the activities in that area are about to finish. Okay, so you can see they are finishing at 5 p.m. What is the indication that the activities are finishing? You can see here the count, the start count and end count is now becoming closer. So when you are becoming closer to the initial value, that means the activities or the extra traffic which was in the area has almost left the area. Okay. After you get the accumulation count, you can plot graphs like these. So you have accumulation values on the y-axis and you have the time on the x-axis. Time is on the x-axis. So you can see they have different graphs, one for all vehicles, one for only cars, automobiles means cars, and one for trucks. Okay. So you can count the vehicles combined or you can count the vehicles of different types separately. When do we do this separation? If you feel the traffic in that area or the congestion in that area is caused because of a particular type of vehicle, then in that case the accumulation for that type of vehicle should be taken separately. Okay, for example, if you feel it's an industrial area and trucks are more important than cars, then you take the count for trucks separately and then you plot the accumulation according to that. If you take the example of the educational area, buses are more important, right? The main cause of congestion were the buses. So then you take the count for the buses separately. So it's up to you. You have to decide what do you want. This is accumulation count for the diplomatic area. Obviously, it was taken in 2018 when there was no COVID. So there was a lot of traffic in that area. So a senior design student group did this survey. Okay, they started at 8 a.m. Before 8 a.m., number of vehicles in the area were 48. And from 8 to 9, 409 entered, 427 left, adding 48 from before, 30 vehicles in the area, and so on. So they did it only till 12 p.m. So they did not cover the whole day. So you can see here the values are not going down again. Okay, because they did not cover the whole working day. This is a crossing representation of the cordon count. Okay, so it is basically giving you from where the vehicles are crossing and how many, the location and the highways from where the vehicles are crossing. So a dotted line is the boundary and the solid lines are the roads. Okay, and then within the roads you can see two-way and one-way roads. Two-way roads are shown with double arrows and one-way roads are shown with single arrow. And with the arrow you can see the number of vehicles which actually passed from this road. So 3,410 vehicles went out from this road and 3,500 vehicles went in from this road. Okay, and so on. You can see with this, with every road you see the arrow and then you see the number of vehicles using that road in a particular direction. It was a 24-hour study like it is mentioned here. So in the full 24 hours, number of vehicles entered 16,935. Number of vehicles left 15,638. So you can see here entering vehicles are more as compared to leaving vehicles. Okay, so whatever the initial count was before 24 hours, whatever the initial count of vehicles was, it is not given here. Whatever that count was, now we have 1267 vehicles more than that count. 1267 vehicles are in that area more than whatever you took as the initial count. How? 16,935 minus 15,638 will give you 1267. So these are the extra vehicles which entered the area but did not leave. Extra vehicles which entered the area but did not leave. So this is the count here. Then we have the last one, which is the screen line count. Screen is the word used whenever there is a barrier between any two mediums or between any two zones. For example, the panel which we use on our windows is also known as a screen. The panel which we use on our windows is also known as a screen because it is separating the inside of the room to the outside of the room, right? So in a screen line count, you have the area of interest and you divide the area of interest with a screen line. So you mark a screen line, or you divide the area into two zones. You divide the area of interest into two zones. Okay, and then you are trying to find out how many people are going across the screen line. Like how many people are going from one zone to the other zone. Okay, across the screen line. Then again, some points are mentioned for making the screen line. They are saying make the screen lines for the number of crossing points are limited. So again, like we discussed earlier, if you have a river or a railroad within your area, make it part of your boundary, like they have done here. So this was their area. Within the area, they had a river. This is the river. So they made the river part of their boundary. So number of crossing points across the river are minimized, and you have to collect data from less number of points. A screen line count is like a small scale origin destination count. A screen line count is like a small scale origin destination count. So in origin destination counts, you had four, you can have 3, 4, 5, any number of zones. But in screen line counts, you have only two zones. Screen line counts, you have only two zones. One on the other side, one on one side, one on the other side. Okay. So it's like a small scale OD count, origin destination count. So you do it in the same manner as origin destination count. Do some interview studies in the area, collect a sample, then go to the crossing points of the screen line and collect the actual number of vehicles crossing the screen. Okay, and then you prepare the metrics, and then you do the calibration like I have shown you at the start today. Okay, so that one was for 4 zones. For screen line, it will be for 2 zones only. Okay, now in a screen line count, since you are not covering too many zones, you will have trips which are single end trips. Single end meaning, for example, this is one zone, and on this side on the other zone, you can have trips which are generated from this area, but they are not crossing the screen line. They are coming out from here. Okay, or you may have trips which are entering this area, but they are entering from somewhere here. Okay, so they are not part of the 2 zones. So in the interview studies, you will find some trips which have the origin as one of the zones or the destination as one of the zones, but they are coming or going to some other zone outside your area. Okay, so these are known as single end trips or external crossings. External crossings. So external because they are out of the area, and single end because only their origin or destination is one of the zones. The other end of the trip is out of the 2 zones, right? So we call them single end trip or external crossings. Okay. So you will know them from the interview studies, that what percentage of people are external or single end trips. Okay, and then you will deduct it from the crossings. Okay. So you can see here, I already said this is the example of the screen line area, and then you can see the plot over here on the y-axis, the number of crossings. On the x-axis, we have the time. So you can see we have a black line here. Black line is the counting which you have done on the ground, the counting which you have done on the roads across the screen line. So this is the actual number of vehicles crossing the screen line, the black line, the top line. Okay. Then you see the black region here. Black region is showing the external crossings. Okay. So the people who are coming from out of these zones and then crossing the screen line. Okay. So maybe their origin is one of the 2 zones or their destination is one of the 2 zones, but they are not going completely between the 2 zones. Okay. And then you see the white line here. The white line is basically the internal crossings. So these are the people who are actually between these 2 zones only. So their origin and destination both is within the area. Okay. Either the origin is zone 1, destination zone 2, or vice versa. So these are internal crossings. Okay. So we have total crossings, which is internal plus external. So the black line is the summation of internal plus external crossings. Okay. What are external crossings? People who are coming out of these 2 zones and crossing the screen line. Internal crossings are people from these 2 zones who are crossing the screen line. Okay. I have another example for a screen line here. which is for King Fahd Causeway. Now, King Fahd Causeway is between Bahrain and Saudi, right? King Fahd Causeway is between Bahrain and Saudi. What is the screen line, the barrier? Keep this in mind. Screen line means the barrier. What is the screen line or the barrier between Saudi and Bahrain? Tell me. It is shown in the picture as well. What is the barrier between Saudi and Bahrain? Come on. You cannot answer this. The King Fahd Causeway is built over what? If I remove the causeway, what will you have between Saudi and Bahrain?
The sea.
The sea, yes, the sea. So sea is the barrier. Sea is the barrier. Sea is the screen line. Sea is the screen line. And King Fahd Causeway is the crossing point. So now you can refer to the example which I was giving earlier. A natural barrier between the two areas, we make it part of our boundary, and the number of crossing point is only 1. Okay. So King Fahd Causeway is the crossing point. Sea is the barrier. King Fahd Causeway Authority takes the screen line count for the causeway every day and they publish it online. So you can see here the count for 2019. Okay. And if you take these numbers and add them, you get the total number of crossings across the causeway. Okay. And these counts are given for each day and each month, and even on each day you have for different hours as well. Okay. So you have an example of a screen line count right in your region as well. Okay, now if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'm going for the attendance. I have section 1 opened in front of me, so let me take section 1 first. I hope you don't mind. Mahmoud Isa. Isa, Bahia Hilal is here. Very good. Mahmoud Isa, Bahia Hilal, Susan Bukhari, okay. Zahra Hussain, Sadiq Mahdi, Zahra Hassan and Sadiq Mahdi, not here. Zain Khalid and Bayan Mirza. Zain Khalid and Bayan Mirza. Rida Abdul Aziz and Ahmad Qasim. Rida Abdul Aziz, Ahmad Qasim,